Hi yogis, and welcome to this week's session of Gentle Reset, where we're going to explore more of our mind and body connection with gentle flows and holds. So today we're going to start in child's pose, so finding ourselves into a comfortable position, stacking our weight on top of our heels. And this time we'll start with our hands underneath our head, either our forearms on the mat or our fists stacked, or what have you. Finding ourselves a comfortable position to start as we settle into the pose, settling into our bodies and allowing our bodies to melt into the earth, trusting the earth can support us. We'll spend a few moments here settling in to the pose and into our bodies. Taking a few moments to ground ourselves and center ourselves for today's practice. Checking in with our bodies and our breath. And remembering throughout today's practice to allow our breath to guide us and to guide our movements. Checking in with our bodies throughout the practice to notice any sensations. And continuing now with a body scan from head to toe, noticing all of the areas throughout the body where we may be holding tension, where we may have comfort or lightness. Noticing the mood of the body as we travel through. Noting what's happening in every part as we move from head to toe. Checking in now with the breath. Noticing where it comes into the body, the expansion of the rib cage or the abdomen. Noticing the rhythm of both the inhale and the exhale. And taking a moment to notice the bottom of each exhale, the pause at the bottom, and how the pause of each exhalation may be slightly different one to the next. Possibly setting an intention for today's practice, always keeping in mind to let go of any judgment, competition, or expectation. And you're encouraged to set an affirmation for today's practice, exploring and finding a word or a sentence that may resonate with you today, perhaps the reason you came to the mat, or perhaps a focus or strength that you need to get you through the coming days or weeks. Bringing our attention back to the breath and to the sounds and the space around us. On the inhale, we'll press ourselves up and extend the arms all along the mat if they aren't already, slowly shifting the weight side to side in an extended child's pose, bringing awareness to the hips. Allowing the neck to sway, possibly up and down or side to side. Adding a little neural flossing of the neck. On the next inhale, we'll lift ourselves up into all fours, bringing our hands underneath our shoulders and our knees underneath our hips. Slowly starting a sequence of cat-cows. On the inhale, we draw our chest through our shoulders, allowing the hips to sink down. And on the exhale, we press into the shoulder blades, pressing away from the earth. Inhale, drawing the chest through. And on the exhale, we press through the shoulder blades, rounding out, looking back towards our feet. Doing 3 more of these at your speed, to the rhythm of our breath. We come back to neutral and slowly start to shift side to side, possibly circling around, shifting our weight over our ankles, our hips, through to the shoulders and the wrists, finding a circular motion and flow that works for your body today. Adding in some flexion, breathing into the side body. And slowly changing directions. Noticing any differences in the movement patterns on this side. Checking in with the breath. We'll come around 2 more circles. And then reset back in neutral. Coming back to our traditional cat-cows, but adding in a twist. On the inhale, we draw our chest forward, lifting the heels off the mat towards the glutes. On the exhale, we'll flatten the feet, rounding out, but this time lifting the hips off the ground, pressing into the abdomen and the shoulders. On the inhale, we lift the heels off the mat, drawing our chest through. And on the exhale, curling into, pressing into the shoulder blades, rounding out. We'll do 3 more. Last one. And on the inhale, we bring ourselves into cat. Keeping the toes curled under our shins, pressing up into down dog on you. Taking a moment here to shift left and right, or to pedal the feet, possibly playing with both poses. Allowing our necks to hang long, our heads are heavy. Releasing any tension we may be holding in the spine or the neck. Being gentle with our bodies today so as not to create stress in the body that may translate into the mind. Finding a still position, pressing the heels towards the mat, pressing our shoulders and chest as well towards the earth. On the next inhale, we're going to lift our left legs off the mat.
And then bent knee circling around, making big hip circles with our left leg. Exploring the hip joint and how wide we are able to press our hips into the circles. Switching directions. Maybe starting small, exploring, opening up as and when possible. Now straightening that left leg. We're going to do the same thing, making big circles with a straighter leg. Exploring. And switching directions. Good. Extending that left leg all the way back, bending at the knee, rotating the hips towards the wall. Option here to come down onto the forearm of the right arm. Rotating back to center, single leg down, and stepping through into a lunge. Coming all the way down onto our right knee, grabbing a cushion as needed. Good. Bringing the left hands up to the thigh, we'll slowly rock forward and back, working ourselves into the right hip flexor gently. Two more pulses forward and back. Good. Holding here, this time straightening the front leg, back and forward. We're working into the hamstrings slowly, possibly allowing the left foot to float up. Moving to the rhythm of our breath. We'll do 3 more. Good. Pressing forward, this time lifting the right foot off the ground, reaching back. Tall upper bodies, we're elongating the spine, looking over the right shoulder, opening up the chest, pressing into the hip flexor slowly and gently. And we'll release that, bringing the front foot forward, lifting, coming into the hamstring stretch. And we'll repeat these 2 poses, flowing through, holding for a few breaths in each. Back into our hamstring stretch. We're going to add in now our single leg down dog. So stepping the left foot back, coming into our down dog, lifting the left leg, bending at the hip, rotating the pelvis, coming down onto our forearm, optional. Pressing our weight back into the right heel. Rotating back, squaring the pelvis to the floor and stepping through into our low lunge. Once again, reaching back, quadricep stretch. Extending the left leg long, lifting the left foot, flexing the toes up, hamstring stretch. forward into our lunge, stepping back into our three-legged dog. Bending the knees, rotating the pelvis, and flowing through these three poses a few more times. As quickly or as slowly as you like and as suits your body today. Planting our hands, curling our toes, back up into our three-legged dog, bending and rotating, lowering as suits you. Pivoting back, squaring our hips, stepping through, quadricep stretch. And back into our hamstring stretch, extending our left leg long. Last time, pressing up into our three-legged dog, extending the left leg long, bending the knee, opening up the hips, rotating, stacking the knee on top. Good. Squaring the hips, lowering ourselves all the way down to the mat, coming back into child's pose, bringing the knees to the outside edges, walking the hands. And maybe even shifting here, exploring what's happening now in the hips after we've warmed up. And we'll follow the same sequence over on the right side. On the inhale, we draw ourselves back up into all fours, bringing our knees under the hips. Hands are under our shoulders. Curling our toes back underneath us, and we come up into our down dog. Pressing back the heels towards the mat, maybe pedaling. And on the next inhale, we'll lift our right leg off the mat, making a 90-degree angle, and slowly start to circle the right leg. Starting small, exploring a larger circle. And switching directions. Noticing what's happening in our jaws. Checking in with the softness of our faces and our gentle breath. Straightening the right leg, making circles with a straighter leg. Feeling the weight being pressed through the left heel into the mat. And switching directions. Good. Extending the right leg long, bending the knee, opening up the hips, stacking the knee on top of the pelvis. Looking up underneath our armpit. Possibly lowering here onto our left forearm. And rotating back, squaring our hips, stepping through into a low lunge with the right leg, finding some support or cushioning under the left knee. Slowly bringing our hands onto our right thigh, rocking our weight forward and back. Slowly opening up the left hip flexor, lowering into it. Last one. We'll hold here, reaching our left arm back, grabbing onto the foot, drawing the heel into our glutes, working the quadricep. Tall upper body's looking over the left shoulder. Holding for a few breaths. And then releasing the back foot, extending the right leg long, hamstring stretch. Holding here another few breaths. And then we'll repeat the sequence moving through the 2 poses. Slowly and gently. One more flow, reaching back. Noticing what's happening in the quadricep. And now the hamstring. Hinging forward, pointing the toes out, flexing the foot. And now adding our down dog sequence with our knee bend, planting our hands, curling our left toes under the shins, stepping up into a single leg down dog, extending the leg, bending, rotating, coming onto our left forearm, optional. Stepping through into our lunge, following the sequence, quadricep stretch, and hamstring, going to the flow of your own breath. Going through this sequence 2 more times. And meeting one another back into down dog. Paddling out and rinsing out what we've just done. Good. Pressing the heels towards the mat. Taking a deep breath in to reset and out through the mouth. Coming up on our toes, and we'll walk our feet in towards our hands. Coming up on the fingertips, bending the knees, stacking our knees on top of the ankles and our hips on top of the ankles. Curling our hands underneath the fronts of our feet here. On the inhale, we come up to a flat back, drawing the shoulder blades back, reaching the chest through. On the exhale, we round out, tucking our chest into our thighs, slowly starting to press the knees back towards the wall. Inhale, pressing the chest through. And exhale, rounding back out, slowly pressing the knees back, keeping our chests hugged into the thighs. Finding a flow 3 more times. Letting go of any expectation. Listening to our bodies. Elongating the spine on the inhale. And pressing back as we round out on the exhale. Holding here, releasing the hands. Pedaling the feet, lifting the toes. Keeping whatever bend of the knee is most comfortable. Good. And now lifting the heels left and right. Maybe even pressing the knee back each time we replace the heel down to the mat. Slowly working into the back of the legs. Good. Bringing both heels off the mat, keeping whatever bend in the knee is necessary. Up on the toes and press back. Coming up on the toes and press back. Just drawing a little more awareness to what's happening in the ankles. Bringing our awareness to the proprioception that we're creating. Allowing our heads to hang long. 2 more. Good. Up on our toes and we lift the hands off the ground, coming into a chair. Slow and steady. Holding here. Letting our glutes come all the way down to our calf muscles. Good. Extending the arms parallel to the floor, rounding out our lower backs as possible. I know your legs and feet are probably starting to shake a little bit. Very good. Hands come into heart center. Flatten our feet and we roll back up into our forward fold, grabbing onto our toes this time. And once again, on the inhale, we reach our chest through. Exhale, we round out, pressing our knees back towards the wall. Inhale, pressing the chest through, drawing our shoulder blades back. Exhale, rounding out. Two more times. Good. Pressing into the legs on the exhale. Good. Last time. And we'll slowly swoop our arms all the way up. Come into mountain. Hands to heart center. Taking a moment to grab a sip of water as needed. Once again, coming back to our left foot, finding grounding in both of our feet, lifting the heel off and starting to wiggle the ankle, rolling the foot around, letting the leg start to float, rolling the hip. Starting small, exploring the hip joint. And we'll switch directions here. Starting as big as possible and then slowly winding down, coming back to our foot, planting our foot back on the floor and wiggling the ankle around the opposite direction. Good. Allowing our arms to float forward, we'll step back into our low lunge once again, reaching our arms up, lowering the knee or keeping it high, into a back bend, sinking a little bit into the hip flexor, straightening back out, this time pressing back into a pyramid, swooping the arms up, coming into our lunge on the inhale. And on the exhale, straightening the front leg into our pyramid. Inhaling, lowering into our lunge, lifting our chests. And then exhale back into pyramid. We'll do 2 more. Warming into the sequence. Good. Exhale, pyramid. We're pivoting our back foot, coming into a warrior 2. Flowing into reverse warrior. Holding here for a few breaths. And now floating forward into an extended side angle. Arm is reaching over top of the body, behind the body, or parallel to the floor. And then we'll flow through a reverse warrior to an extended side angle 3 times. Option, of course, to hold one or the other. Good. Holding here, straightening the front leg, extended side angle. Straightening the front leg into triangle pose. Squeezing the left glute, pressing the pelvis forward, remaining in our side body, extending the arm up, behind our backs or over our heads, allowing the right hand to fall where it will naturally, maintaining a neutral spine with the neck. Windmilling the left arm all the way back down to the mat. Stepping both feet together, forward fold. On the next inhale, we swoop our arms all the way up, coming back to mountain. Hands to heart. Taking a deep breath in between as we reset. Coming back to our right leg now, lifting the heel off the ground, rolling the ankle, slowly starting to roll into the hip joint. Big circles, exploring the rotation and range of motion. And switching directions here. Drawing ourselves back down to the mat, noticing the stability and strength of our left side. Placing our right foot back on the mat, continuing our rolls in this direction of the foot and the ankle. Finding our resting place, allowing the arms to float forward, stepping back into our lunge, either lowering the lunge or keeping the knee off the ground, arching the lower back. And then coming, exhale, straightening the front leg into pyramid. Inhale, lowering into our lunge. Exhale into pyramid. Slowly coming into the poses. Listening to our body so as not to force any emotions. We'll do one more. Coming into our lunge. For the last time. Exhaling and pivoting the back right foot. This coming into warrior 2. Checking our positioning, looking over the left extended hand, setting our shoulders back, tall upper bodies, and our weight is centered between both legs. Inhale into reverse warrior, holding here for 3 breaths. Floating our bodies forward into a side angle. And then flowing through both a reverse warrior and a side angle pose 3 more times. Holding here, extending the left leg, allowing the left hand to fall where it will. Engaging the right glute. thrusting our pelvis forward. And the right arm is extended either over our bodies, behind, or over our heads. Holding for 3 more breaths. Good. Windmilling our right hand all the way back down to the mat, bending our left knee, stepping once again into our forward fold. Keeping a bend in the knees. On the inhale, we swoop all the way up. Hands to heart. Resetting here. Inhale, swooping our arms up. Hands to heart, sinking into a chair pose. Inhale all the way up. And sink into a chair. 3 more times. Last one. Swooping the arms up, come to standing. Reaching our arms all the way over top of our shoulders, grabbing onto the left wrist, coming into a side bend. Once again, pressing our hips and pelvis forward. Remaining in our side body, drawing awareness to the breath and the expansion of our ribs. Good. Back to center, elongate the spine, arching in our hollow hold. Grabbing onto the right wrist, bringing the hips back underneath us and into the side bend on the left. One more breath. Elongate and reach all the way up, forward fold here on the exhale. Inhale, hands to knees, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Let's sway side to side, bending the knees, bringing our hands inside the elbows, and allowing our heads to hang heavy. Pressing into one hamstring at a time, shifting our weight, noticing what's happening in our lower back, and noticing the grounding of each foot as it sways and grips into the mat, all 4 corners. Coming back to the breath. Finding stillness in the legs. Walking the feet out to the outer edges of the mats and lowering ourselves into Malasana. Good. Finding our balance. Bringing our hands into heart center. Allowing the arms to press against the inner thighs to elongate the spine. Deep breaths in. We'll hang out here for a few breaths. Option to plant the left hand down, opening up the right arm on the inhale and allowing it to float back down, switching to the left side on the inhale. Option to hold the pose. Option to come into an arm bind. Listening to our bodies, noting any new sensations. One more on each side or 2 breaths. Coming back to center. One more deep breath in and out through the mouth. Bringing ourselves down to the mat slowly and gently. Keeping our legs in butterfly. And we'll lower ourselves into supine. So you're welcome to bring blocks or cushions to the outside of the knees if that feels more comfortable. Taking a sip of water before we get down to the mat, as that is where we're going to end our practice today. Slowly lowering ourselves down one vertebrae at a time, shoulders, neck, and head. And we're taking a moment here to reset our attention on our breath. Noting any sensations as we run through a body scan from head to toe. Noticing the energy that's flowing through us and the mood of the body. Now taking a moment to reflect on any intention we may have set for ourselves at the beginning of our practice. Bringing our awareness back to the space around us, and we'll draw our knees and our legs into our chest, giving them a hug, either wrapping our hands around the shins or underneath, behind the thighs. Option here to roll side to side, adding an additional massage of the lower back. Lowering our shoulders and head back to the mat if they were lifted, and extending the legs long, stacked over top of the hips, as well as the arms over top of the chest. And we're just going to take some time to roll out the wrists and the feet, noticing what's happening in the ankles and the wrists, moving in both directions. And then pointing and flexing. Bringing our knees now to the outsides towards our armpits, reaching our hands around the bottoms into happy baby. Option here to rock side to side. Option as well to extend one leg out. Alternating legs or both legs together if you're feeling super flexible today. Going with our breath. Extending long. Again, not forcing any movements and having no expectations of where our bodies should be today. Simply allowing ourselves to be present in our bodies, honoring our capacity today. Maintaining presence in this moment. Bring our awareness to the sensations of the body and the breath. Let's do 2 more breaths. Allowing our bodies to explore the poses and our abilities within them. Drawing our feet together, drawing the soles of the feet together, wrapping our hands around the back of them. And now pressing the knees away in our butterfly. Drawing the heels towards our center, drawing the shoulder blades to the mat. Good. And releasing that, stacking our legs once again over top of our hips. Ooh, extending the back of the legs, pressing the knees towards the wall. And option here to bring the knees towards the outside legs, crossing the feet over, reaching for both feet, and just hugging in. Releasing that, crossing the opposite feet over top, grabbing on with hands, crunching in. Gentle pulse here. One more time on each side, possibly even bringing the knees over top of each other. Oh, hugging in, grabbing onto both feet, possibly feeling this in the back of the hip flexor. Switching sides, eagling the legs, and reaching for the opposite feet. Good. Releasing that. Once again, bringing the knees towards the armpits. Option here to roll forward and back, forward and back. Slowly starting to bring ourselves more into a plow or a boat, listening to our bodies. Option to come all the way into a boat and hold. Releasing the hands. Straightening the legs is a possibility as well. If that's accessible for you today, you are welcome to do so. Gentle boat hold. And then we'll come back into our plow, gently rolling over, using the momentum of our bodies. Listening to our bodies, remaining in the moment, identifying the sensations, tapping the feet down as possible. Option, of course, is a shoulder stand. And we'll spend a few breaths here, allowing the legs to open up once again in a different pose. Listening to our breath. Noticing that if it's labored, we may want to pull back a little bit, ease off, or release out of the pose. Noticing what's happening in the neck and the jaw. Possibly feeling a little more lightness and a release of tension in the back of the legs after the practice we've just done. We'll stay here for 3 more breaths. And when you're ready, we'll bring the knees towards the forehead, hands towards the back, and slowly lower ourselves back down to the mat, 1 vertebrae at a time. Keeping the abs engaged so as not to release out of the pose too quickly. And then extending the legs long on the mat. Allowing the hands to float up over top of the head. Reaching long with both arms and legs, arching the lower back. And bringing deep breaths in through the chest into the abdomen. One more. Good. Releasing the lower back into its natural position. And with an inhale, we exhale into our hollow hold, allowing the arms to float up towards the ears, the legs floating up off the mat. And we release. Deep breaths in through the nose. 2 more times, we'll come into a hollow hold, holding for a few breaths each time. Good. Release. And let's do 1 more. Deep breaths in through the nose. And exhale up. Good. Releasing, drawing the knees back into the chest 1 last time. Giving them a big hug. Rolling side to side. And with smiles on our faces, we give thanks for the opportunity to have practiced here together. Going into any final movements or poses that you'd like before the end of this session, you are welcome. And then finding our way back into Shavasana with our palms facing upwards. Big smiles on our faces. We draw new energy through our nose, releasing any residual tension through our mouth. Reflecting on anything somebody may have said or done for us this week that may have put smiles on our hearts or faces. And once again, reflecting on any affirmation that we may have sat at the beginning of class, possibly repeating it in our minds, or choosing a different affirmation. Maybe something different resonates with us at this point now that we've finished our practice. And whatever it is, we repeat it in our minds, imprinting it in our minds and our bodies. Positive thoughts and affirmations of strength, power, focus, and rejuvenation. Taking our gratitude and rejuvenation with us into our circles, into each step that we take, and sharing it with others. Thank you for joining me today. I wish you a great continuation. Namaste.